When a natural disaster becomes overwhelming, we instinctively look toward massive governments or billionaire-funded organizations for a rescue. This is what a volunteer network looks like when it reaches that same scale. A fleet of over 1,800 ambulances operating 24/7. These vehicles respond to local emergencies and international crises alike, providing aid as far away as the United States during Hurricane Katrina. Abdul Sattar Edhi constructed this entire humanitarian empire on his own, without the backing of a government or a corporation. He lived in extreme simplicity, owning only a few pieces of clothing and sleeping in a small room inside his office. How does one individual with no initial wealth or political backing manage to create the world's largest life-saving network? In the 1930s, Edhi lived in the crowded streets of British India. It was a difficult environment that would eventually shape his perspective on the world. When he was a child, his mother suffered a series of debilitating health crises that left her paralyzed and mentally unstable. Edhi spent his youth as her sole caregiver, handling the daily work of feeding her, cleaning her, and looking after her every need. Through this experience, he realized his mother's suffering was mirrored in millions of other people who had no family or resources to support them. That direct encounter with localized pain became his life's mission. He decided to serve those who had been left behind by everyone else. After moving to Karachi, Pakistan, Edhi opened a tiny medical dispensary in 1951. He had no external funding and relied entirely on his own effort. In this first dispensary, workers sat on the floor and distributed medicine directly from plastic bins to anyone in the community who needed it. Edhi established a rule that would never change. Help must be given to everyone, regardless of their religion, their race, or background. When a flu epidemic hit the city in 1957, he saw a desperate need for transportation and used his savings to buy his very first ambulance. He didn't start with a global strategy. He simply chose to solve the specific crisis right in front of him, instead of waiting for a larger organization to step in. Once Edhi proved the concept with that first vehicle, the community support allowed him to build this massive fleet. The foundation grew by identifying whatever the community lacked, eventually building hospitals, free homeless shelters, and mental health centers. He also placed wire cradles outside his centers to serve as a safe drop-off point, ensuring abandoned infants were protected and cared for by his staff. This system of mercy expanded because Edhi treated every new community problem as his own responsibility to fix. As the foundation grew, millions of dollars in donations poured in from around the world, yet Edhi refused to take a salary or change his lifestyle. He maintained his simple life because he believed that personal comfort would create a barrier between himself and the people he was trying to help. When Edhi passed away in 2016, the scale of national mourning was historic. Tens of thousands of people gathered to pay their respects to the man they called the Angel of Mercy. His structural model was so effective that the entire network continues to operate seamlessly today, managed by his family and a massive group of volunteers. Edhi's life's work resulted in a legacy measured by the millions of lives saved by his network, rather than a financial fortune. He proved that changing the world begins by looking at the suffering directly in front of you and choosing to act with compassion.